Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us for this pre-championship webinar for TAPS Drumline 2022. My name is John Skees, and I am the Director of Media for TAPS. We're going to get started in just a couple of minutes, but first I've got some housekeeping items to go over with you. First of those, this webinar is being recorded. That recording will be hosted on our YouTube page. That's youtube.com/tapsbiz. You can find recordings of all of our public webinars and training sessions there. It's all in a playlist for 22-23. You're going to receive a link to that later today. It's going to be sent to the same email address you used to register for this webinar. Second, if you have questions, please use the questions feature in the GoToWebinar interface. You're going to see a little drop down that says questions. You can type them in there, and we will see them. We're going to try to answer those as we go through the presentation. If there's space, if we don't get to your question right away, don't worry. There is a general Q&A at the end of the presentation. But if we don't get to your question, if we run out of time, or if your question is just too specific or too in the weeds to answer appropriately in this venue, and we don't answer it, please send us an email, info@taps.biz, or call us at the office, and we will have that number for you at the end of the presentation. A couple of media-related announcements for those of you just joining us. We've got a Twitter account for TAPS Band and Drumline, at TAPS Band and at TAPS Drumline. If you have an account related to your program or your school, please give us a follow and tag us when you do things. We're always happy to hear from our member schools. We've also got a podcast episode up from last year about last year's fall band championships. That includes marching band, drumline, and field band. That's our podcast called TAPS Talk, and that's episode 9, I believe. If you want to listen to that. We're going to be doing more of those for this year's championship as well. We've also got audio recordings. We started doing that for the first time last year of last year's performances, all of the performances, and those are available on our website for you to listen to. And we will have photographers again this year at the championship, and those photos will be made available to you a few days after the championship is over. With that, we'll get started. I'm joined today by Brian Bunselmeyer, the TAPS Executive Director, Rhonda Smith, the TAPS Director of Fine Arts, and Will Dixon from the TAPS office staff is helping us out behind the keyboard today. And with that, I'm going to hand it over to Brian to get us started. Brian.
Thank you, John, and good morning to everybody. You know, the older I get, the more I have a tendency to look back. This is going to be year 9 going on year 10 of TAPS Drumline. I need to send a shout of thanks out to our previous Associate Director, Jeremy Thornton, who's at Brentwood Christian School, and Jeff Shelton down at Tyler Grace Community. Those two gentlemen put their heads together and came up with this contest, and I can't thank them enough, really, for what it has become. So thank you, Jeff. Thank you, Jeremy, for providing this opportunity for our member schools. Every year the contest has grown. It's changed here and there. We started out in Waco. We meandered down to Leander, Texas. We came back up to Hewitt Midway. Even a year ago or so when we were in the rain, I guess that's 2 years ago now, we found it inside. So if you got to enjoy that opportunity in Waco with the rain, know that we have contracted with the base and Extraco Event Centers. If we have to go back inside, we have a bigger place and a more opportune place to do that. So looking at the rain today made me think of that, so we'll move forward. Again, thank you for joining us here today, and we look forward to the fall opportunities that our band opportunity here with Drumline. And with that, just introduce Rhonda Smith. She's our Director of Fine Arts. And Rhonda, why don't you take us to the website with Will and just kind of go over our staff real quick.
Thank you, Brian. Again, welcome everyone. Looking forward to an exciting year. If you go to our website and down at the very bottom left corner it says About, and then click on TAPS Staff, you will find everyone that you actually need. We've got Brian, who is our Executive Director. You have Steve, Associate Director, Robert Huckabee, our Associate Director and the Director of Compliance. If you look down, you have Kelly Bay, who is assistant, and she is also all things rank 1. Delaney and Steve Hohulin are working on eligibility. So if you have eligibility questions, they will be there for you. And so if you're looking for any questions, these are the guys that you're going to look up and contact. You can contact the office, or you can shoot an email to info@taps.biz. Now, moving forward, I'm going to go into some governance with you for Drumline in our Constitution and bylaw, where Will is on the website, up at the top left-hand corner, he's circling that. It says bylaws. He's not going to click that right now because you have to wait for a little bit. It is a very large document. But once you get there and it's loaded, you pull all the way down to section 237. You will find everything fall band, drumline, or marching band and field band. This falls under section 237, but specifically drumline is number 6. And under there, you will find, your time constraints, your judging, performance, awards, anything that you're looking for. You may be looking for the music selection. This is where you'll find all of your questions concerning governance. If you don't find it, go to info again, info at taps.biz, and we will get your questions answered. Moving on to student eligibility, there are some things that you need to know as you're making your students eligible. Make sure they're not 19 prior to September 1st. Make sure they're full-time students, which means that they are sitting in your classroom at least 4 class periods a day. They can't have been in 9th grade more than 4 years ago. We do have they can only be eligible 4 years in TAPS, and they need to be in good standing. You may also use junior high in this competition, and it will not affect their eligibility. Brian?
So basically, those are the same eligibility rules for all participation in TAPS. It must be a full-time member of your school. Otherwise, in other words, homeschoolers can't come participate in addition to your staff. So, again, these rules apply to all student eligibility as we go forward. And we track that in our database called Rank 1. So just to kind of give you an idea of what Rank 1, the kind of things you're going to do there, Rhonda, walk us through quickly what the database requires.
All right, Rank 1 has become a great tool for us to use to take care of some things. Again, we mentioned Kelly Bay at the office. She is going to be our guru that's going to help you with any questions if you get stuck. But the things we need you to take care of in Rank 1, if you are the Fine Arts Director, make sure you're marked in there correctly. All of your program directors, your assistant program directors, please make sure you have them listed under whichever event they are directing. Make sure their emails are correct. All of the contact information. This is so important because this is where Kelly will pull all of the emails. When we have emails that will go out, that will be important. When you go to an individual page for Drumline, over to the right, you will see every email that is sent out. It becomes part of the blog on the right side of that page. We'll show you that in just a minute. But also in Rank 1, please make sure that you've completed your acknowledgement of rules and that you are scope certified. When you go to the bottom left-hand side of your Rank 1 account, you will see where it talks about your compliance. When you go into scope, when you see the words fine art, actually click on those words to get the presentation to come up and show. If you just click on the checkbox, nothing happens. That takes care of all your directors, and then we can be able to contact you. Make sure all of your students are in Rank 1, that they've completed their student profiles, that they've also signed their acknowledgement of rules, that you have a medical history on file, and also this is one group that does have to have a physical. And Brian, tell us a little bit more why they have to have a physical.
Over the years that we've had this emphasis on health and safety, one of the changes that is made along with the UIL is that fall band for marching and field, and now with us for drumline, all have to have that medical history, and they must have a current physical uploaded. So if your school already requires a physical, you just need to upload it and turn them green. This is for your safety as a director and your safety as a school as well as anything else. Up until this week here in Dallas-Fort Worth, it was 105 degrees outside every day. So we want to make sure that the students are physically able to participate. So, again, TAPS doesn't see any of that information. That's for you and for your nurses, etc., to be able to see, and your directors. So we appreciate your compliance with that and helping us to keep our children safe as they compete for your school.
Thank you, Brian. Also, when you're in Rank 1, you're going to create a varsity team, which will be where you'll set up your drum line and you'll build a roster. Closer to the time of an event, we will ask you to do a little bit more with that roster. We'll have you do a program roster. We'll actually have you upload cast and drumline pictures, but that will come closer to event time. But just make sure you do have a roster built in Rank 1. Again, if you have any Rank 1 issues, please contact the office, talk to Kelly, and she will walk you through all of that. And in communicating with the office. There are several ways you can communicate with us. Info@taps.biz is one way, or to call the office, 254-947-9268. But if you go to our website, and I'm going to have Will pop over to the website, and up at the top where it says Fine Arts, then you will see every event that we have in the Fine Arts. You'll go over to Drumline and notice that we have everything that you need to know about Drumline. We have a championship information button 2022 that when Will clicks on it in just a minute, I want to point out we have 62 days until we have Drumline competition, and that's pretty exciting because that's coming up very, very quickly. When he clicks, you will see everything that you need to know about the Drumline and the Fall Championships, the dates, the location, if you have people that are going to come watch, and the tickets where they can purchase those, maps, parking lots, everything that you need to know. And so I would encourage you to come back to this page, check if there's any changes that have been made, but that way you will keep up with it. We are updating all the Fine Arts pages as we go, so if you don't find something, again, contact us. When we're going through communications, important dates come upon us very quickly. The calendar, Will is also right there. Thank you, Will. If you click on the calendar, this is very important. Make sure that you go there and check. Everything that's in red is a deadline. Everything that's in yellow is a championship. And you'll notice some of our important dates are September 1st, when participation forms are due. You've got senior transfer deadlines. Entry deadline for the Drumline Championships are October 7th. And if you look at October 24th, it's bright yellow, and that's when you'll find the championships, which are again back at Waco ISD, and they will be on the softball field just as it is as in the past. When you come to the championship event, there are going to be several things that you are going to do. 4 things. The whole thing. You warm up, and you're going to warm up in the parking lot, and we will get those assigned. We do have the participation forms that are coming in on September 1st, which will help us determine how many people are planning on participating and how we will separate you into parking lots. But that's where you will warm up. You'll perform, and if you'll notice in the bylaws for Drumline, you have a setup of 8 minutes, performance of 4 to 10 minutes, but you have at least 20 minutes from setup to breakdown, 20 minutes on the field. So please keep that in mind as you're doing your performance, that you keep that in mind. Also, we will have a clinic with clinicians that Mr. Bob Vetter has so graciously stepped up, and he is helping us acquire clinicians and judges for the fall and the spring. Brian, did you have something you wanted to add to that?
Let's just go back to the idea of a clinic and a clinician. So the educational value, being extracurricular activities, keep that curricular idea in mind. When we first started, it was hugely important that we had the clinics, and I'm so glad that we're still able to do that. You'll have 3 judges that are obviously going to critique you, they're going to rank you, they're going to score you, and they're going to award the superlatives. But you're also going to have 3 clinicians. You'll have one. Each group will have one clinician, which after you perform, they don't have a vote in where you wind up. They're going to go out and they're going to talk to you about what you did well, what you might want to change. And I hope that as you go through with the clinician, you see some things that you might not have seen earlier, or it reinforces some of the things that as a director you've been trying to say all year. So I'm very proud of the clinicians that we've been able to have. As much as I love the competition, I truly love the learning opportunity and the reinforcement that this provides. So that's been a key since we started, Rhonda, and I know you've been there with that, and I appreciate that as well. Understand as well that if you've got your front performance groups that you need electricity, we will have that on the field. Again, we will be on the softball field. The only reason that we are there is that it is turf, and it is turf, and it is turf. So if it does rain, if the rain's not coming down at the time, we can get through there without dragging our stuff through the mud and the dips in the water. So again, Waco ISD again for this year, and again, the clinician is a big part of it. Sorry for interrupting, Rhonda, but we'll go from there.
No, that's always good to hear, and we are excited about having the clinicians, and Mr. Vitter, he gets the cream of the crop when we're talking about those. Moving on, you'll see on there, I named a championship schedule, not sure why, but we have tiers, and we have some exciting news this year. Right now, if you look at the the slide, there are 4 tiers right now. You have a tier 1, 2, 3. We have the middle school, high school drumline. And on that one, there is a typo where it says 3 or more students, and it says not majority high school. This is the division that you can have junior high kids on your drum line. You just can't have, they have to be a majority of high school students. Now we're going to add this year a division that is a majority of junior high kids. So if you have a group of junior high kids that you have starting in the drum line and you want to bring them to this competition, we will be so excited to have them there. If you have 1 or 2 high schoolers that are on that one, you will do that. We are adding that division and we're very excited about that. So if you have questions, give us a call. But yeah, so now we're going to have 5 tiers to look at. And like Brian said, depending on September 1st, when we see how many people are actually participating, we'll divide those up. But we will have a strictly junior high division this year. So we look forward to that. We want to thank too, and I know Brian mentioned this too, we have committees that we deal with, and they've been around to help us. And when we're coming to the awards, they are ones that we will talk to. We've been talking about different awards, but as you can see on here, these are awards that we give this year. Based on performances, everyone will get a rating. They'll superior, excellent, good, or fair. And if you can see where if you get a superior, it gives you 35 points towards the overall band championships. I have some tiny writing and I didn't have my readers on, so I was having trouble with that number. You get 35 points that will go towards the overall band championship, which then in turn goes toward the Henderson Cup, which is coveted by many, many people. So you'll get that rating. And based on the rankings by the 3 judges, the 1st through 4th bands will receive plaques, and then also there will be auxiliary awards given to outstanding sections. We've got the snare, tenor, bass, cymbal, and front ensemble. And as I said, we will be contacting the committee and talking about others that could be coming in the near future. So with that, I'm going to ask Brian to talk to us a little bit about COVID.
With COVID still in the news and it's still there, one thing we need to consider is what your school has for your COVID rules and regulations. So TAPS is not going to mandate wearing of masks. You can definitely wear them if that is what your school or your students require. One of the things that we also will do is we will encourage spacing, especially between groups. But if you're rode up on the bus together, we feel like you probably ought to be able to sit together as you go through the process. Another thing that's come out, obviously, if it's too hot, too cold, we will do the best we can to adjust what we can, make sure that you hydrate. One other thing that it's outside of COVID, but our rules are all listed on the TAPS website under resources. Just make sure that you're in compliance with your school's rules. So if you have someone that tests positive for COVID, you'll be following your school's rules, so make sure that you do that accordingly. In the past, over the last 2 or 3 years, we've had a couple that have had to drop out based on some of those things that have come up. So if that does occur, we understand. We just ask that you communicate as soon as possible with us. So as we also move forward, one thing that I had forgot earlier, but Rhonda, I think it's important, is that we will do the best on scheduling we can to separate, especially your drum line, if they're also in marching or field band, to give the student time to participate and to prepare for both. I think, we can't always guarantee, enough time, but we'll give as much as possible. And Rhonda, the other thing that came to my mind was the lunch orders. We did have done that in the past. I anticipate we'll do that again, and we'll get, of course, more information on that out as we come. As we go forward, one of the closing thoughts I have is that, again, so grateful for the clinicians. This is a great opportunity to come compete. Drumline is something that, to me, it's near and dear to my heart. I love it. But something else that comes to mind is these are young people that are getting to do what they love with other young people doing what they love. And all of our judges and clinicians and our director also have that same desire. So it's always good to see a good number of people coming together with a common focus. I hope you'll stay around to listen to others as they compete. You may take something away that you can use in your drum line, but also I think it just reinforces the value to your students of why we do this and why we're a part of that. So I'll leave that with my closing thoughts. Rhonda, any closing thoughts that you have?
know just we are so looking forward to having you at the competitions and a great year. So thank you for joining us today here at our preseason webinar. Again, if you have any questions, info@taps.biz or 254-947-9268. With that, I'll turn it back to John.
Thank you, folks. Thank you, Brian. Thank you, Rhonda. Thank you, Will. This recording will be made available to you later today. That link to our YouTube page is going to be sent to the same email address you used to register for this webinar. And with that, folks, you enjoy the rest of your day.